Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Puma El Gato, the cat that gives your misandry back. And to my right over here is the main man, Jesus Dinero, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die, deadlier than the Diaz brothers, and spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans. Brother, what is the topic at hand that we are talking this week?
Tonight we are going to talk about feminism, its long history, and where it's come to. We're going to go into a little bit of its origins, and then we're going to kind of go from, at this stage we're basically in fourth wave feminism, so we're going to go from first all the way to fourth and kind of discuss everything in between. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, I personally don't have a problem with the ideas of feminism. I understand that generally speaking, it is something that's, I believe feminism, especially at its root, is definitely something that was needed, especially for its time. Given when it started, I believe that at that time feminism was at its truest, when women really did not in any way, shape, or form have any rights at all. Not just in the sense of, you know, not being able to vote or anything like that. They basically had to do really damn near everything that a man said, otherwise they wouldn't really be able to have any sort of decent lifestyle, I guess you can say. But with that being said,
I think it's just autonomy in general.
Yeah, autonomy. With that being said, you know, going back to its origins, a lot of people don't know this, and I'll be honest with you, in studying for the topic, I myself didn't know this, so, you know, I learned something new in studying this topic. Feminism, I originally believe started in the 1960s, right around the same time of the Civil Rights Movement, but actually, feminism actually started in 1880s, so it started quite a bit ago, and that's when the idea of feminism was kind of given birth and really started taking root as far as, you know, what they were asking for, what they were looking for. Obviously at that time, you know, compared to what women are asking for now, is definitely, you know, a lot less obviously than women are looking for now. But with that being said, again, it started back in the 1880s, is what I believe I read, and at that moment in time, then I know this sounds hella fucked up, women were really just trying to be looked at as human. And again, keep in mind, it's the 1880s, so really if you weren't a straight white male that happened to own land, you were basically nobody. So it's understandable that at that time, really, what they were just looking for was just to be human. Before we move on to the next portion, what do you think about that early portion of it? What did you do in your studying?
Well, in my studying, what I found was that even though they were looking to get, it was mostly women's suffrage that they were looking to achieve back in the 1800s.
Yep.
The unfortunate consequence was that it was only looking for suffrage of white women at that time. Black women, they weren't looking to get any sort of rights.
Yep.
Only they weren't looking to further the movement of women in general. It was just white women at that time, because they viewed anybody black as subhuman at that point. Granted, it was the 1800s, and it was, I don't want to say it was a different time, because it doesn't exactly excuse what their thought process was, but it was what it was.
Yeah, and you know what? It was one of those scenarios in which really what was going on with first wave feminism, and I guess this is where you can bring the critique into it, was they were looking to give more rights to the middle-aged, middle-class, cisgendered white woman. So basically, the number two on the totem pole, we first have white men, then we would have white women, and then followed by every other minority. So really, the people that were second-class citizens were looking to get some sort of additional benefit at that time, which again, basically happened to do with suffrage. Obviously, from that time, from the 1880s, moving on forward, you know, right into the 1920s and stuff, you know, and 1920s and 1930s, women started getting the right to vote. And at that time, you know, obviously they were getting a little bit more. Again, they still didn't necessarily apply to black women or any minorities of the sort. But you know, white women started getting slightly more rights. Again, just the ability to be able to vote. Again, they were still looked at as, you know, second class, because again, if you weren't, you know, white man between the ages of 13 and 35, you were not really the demographic that anybody in the United States wanted to be. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to second wave feminism. Second wave feminism started in the 1960s by damn near every source that I read, and it was basically right along with the civil rights movement. The thing is, feminism, especially at that time, did not want to include minorities in it, because what they didn't want people to look at their struggle of feminism, again, for the typical, middle-aged white woman, and the struggle of minorities, specifically black people, as equal. They didn't want to say, hey, we don't want to be viewed right alongside you guys, because we don't want them to conflate feminism with slavery. So even in feminism, again, the middle-aged white woman was still saying, yeah, you guys have struggles too, but it's not as important as ours. So it's definitely one of those things that people unfortunately don't ever really talk about when they talk about feminism. They just talk about women's rights and blah, 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 blah. But they ignore the ugly parts. Again, basically saying, you black people, you stay in your lane over there. We will take care of our stuff first, and then we'll focus on your stuff. With that being said, there was a number of individuals that came out and basically stated, I can't remember the motherfucking activist's name, who said, it was a black woman activist who said, am I also not a woman?
I think it was Sojourner Truth, I believe.
There you go. Basically saying, hey, you feminists, you're standing up for women's rights. Am I not a woman? And to be fair, she's right. Again, feminism at the time just did not want to conflate their issues with the issues of civil rights and slavery. So they basically ignored anybody that wasn't the typical white woman. Anything you want to add to that before we move on?
I think there was only another thing that was wild at that time. Around the time, I think it was in the 70s when Roe v. Wade just got onto the
books.
Onto the books or whatever, and actually got. I'm gonna say ratified, because even then it wasn't ratified. Yeah. But when it was actually written into law, or whatever, a lot of feminists did see it like as a big victory. And granted, it was, but the research that I did said it wasn't, or at least for minorities, they didn't see it as a complete victory. It was like it was a big step, but it was like we're missing one component of it. And the component that they were complaining about was forced sterilization of black women at that time, especially with all the crazy shit that was going on in the 60s and 70s. That and the crack epidemic was like another biggest one that was going on against minorities. A lot of shit that people didn't want to talk about back then, but it was like, no, we'll fix that. We'll fix that later. We'll fix that later. Don't worry about that.
Again, and minorities were always, at least third class. First white men, then white women, then everybody else. But go on.
So yeah, it was like they saw it like, okay, big victory, but that's not what we were fighting for. It was a big victory, but this is what we were fighting for. We were fighting against, stop fucking stopping us from having children. Like it's not fucking kosher. Like, yes, we wanted the autonomy of our bodies, fine, but stop fucking with us
forcing sterilization. Yeah, absolutely. So again, another avenue in which again, I've never heard any feminists that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to a few now, bring that concept of their failures in feminism up. But let's go past that. We're now going to get into third and fourth wave. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky for a lot of the sources that I read discussing the origins of feminism. Some people say we're in third wave, some people say we're in fourth wave. A lot of people say that fourth wave looks a lot like second wave. So again, it just really depends on what your particular choice, I guess, would be. With that being said, this is where I start to have a little bit of a problem with it. And this is where I think that we start losing sight of the original vision. The first wave feminism, or feminism at its birth, was absolutely positively needed. Women did not have any discernible rights other than basically you must listen to your man, which is, a lot of women don't consider right. They didn't have any voice, other than to speak to the husband, and if the husband agreed, that was it. Second wave feminism, I agree with second wave feminism. I believe in the 1960s, again, while women did have, right to vote, they started getting, Roe v. Wade and all that kind of stuff. I still believe that there was a gigantic difference between the positions that women could get into as far as a profession, and the type of jobs they could get, the type of pay they could get, so on and so forth. I believe all that. I believe feminism was absolutely necessary in those times. They had valid points. When we start getting to third wave feminism, supposedly third wave feminism came about in the 1990s, and then fourth wave, which is what we're in now, is where I start to have a little bit of a problem with it, because at this point it seems like nitpicking to nitpick. Before I go on to my explanation of why I think third and fourth wave is nitpicking, do you have any differences in opinion from what I have about first, second, third, and fourth?
Not really, I don't think so. I will say like third wave, because it's more of like a recent thing, and I think it's also kind of conjoined with politics too. Like, political takes these days have just gotten so fucking nuclear and so fucking out there and wild that I think as a result there is also some movements both on the feminist side and also on the meninist side.
That's a thing.
Meninist, yeah.
I didn't have no idea. Learn something new every motherfucking day. Go on.
Not as powerful, but I mean it's It's a movement.
Gotcha. Okay, but go on.
But anyways, there's been a lot of nuclear takes in regards to that, especially with people like Andrew Tate and all that. Which, granted, yes, toxic. I acknowledge that he is a dog shit human. Let's just acknowledge that and move on. With people like that, for an example, they have such nuclear takes that it, as a result of
it takes away from the actual cause.
Yeah, it takes away from the actual cause.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. Here's the problem that I have with it is that you have all of these subcategories of feminists. One of those would be we've actually talked about this with a couple friends of ours, the TERFs. TERFs believe that anyone that is not a biological woman should not be fought for. They shouldn't have the same rights, I guess, as biological women. They basically believe that if you're not a biological woman and you're trying to I guess appropriate, in their words, the rights of biological women, you're to be ostracized, you're to be hated. Look, I'll be honest with you, my man. I think, and that's just one example. I think a lot of the stuff that feminism has turned into is getting ridiculous because, first of all, and this is 100% true, and I know a lot of people are gonna fucking get butthurt about this take, but you can only be a feminist in first world nations. And what I mean by that is, look, third world nations, while I'm not in any way, shape, or form advocating for being a third world nation, I like living in a first world nation. You have the right to complain about having rights and not having rights. A lot of women don't have that. It's sad that those women don't have that, and I disagree with the fact that they don't have that. The problem is it's gotten so... It seems like because a lot of the major issues were fixed, right? For example, not having the right to vote, okay? Not being seen as an everyday human, okay? There's a lot of those things like that were major issues back way back in the day that are no longer true. I was watching a Bill Burr special earlier, and he was saying, that he was with this woman, he was watching The View, and they talked about how beating your woman was the topic of the day for like, the 15th time that year or something like that. And the whole point is, he was saying, look, you don't need to keep repeating this. Regular human beings understand that beating a woman is not acceptable, and it's not, as it should never be. With that being said, like, you're not reaching anybody new. The people that are out there that are doing the woman beating, they're not going to change their mind because guess what? They're kind of a piece of shit. So you rehashing the issues that have already been discussed, that have already been solved. Again, you're not going to get, at least as far as I'm fucking aware, you're not gonna get a man that's gonna go up to another man, hey man, I beat the shit out of my wife today, man, she had it coming. Like, nobody's proud to admit that. And don't get me wrong, does it still happen? Absolutely. I'm not saying by any means that women don't still get beat and tortured. I 100% agree that it absolutely happens. But with that being said, it's not something that's openly proud of. Like, again, back in the day, I don't remember who it was. There was I was just watching another video with it was Ike Turner, and he was casually talking about beating his wife, and I'm like, yo, that is fucking intense. Like, in an interview setting, this man was talking about it, like he was saying, she was moping around or whatever, and asked what's wrong. She said nothing, and then I slapped her upside the head, and all of a sudden she was happy. It's like, yo, my man, you cannot be like that casual about beating a woman. That's fucking intense.
I'm not gonna kill her. I'm just gonna fuck her up a little.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. So I agree that these things are in fact issues that have been long-standing. And here's the unfortunate part: is the same reason why I think it's kind of stupid to ban Andrew Tate is because while these issues are bad and while these people have dog shit takes, they're issues that continue to live in life. So if you get rid of an Andrew Tate or if you get rid of an Ike Turner, like, there's still going to be dudes out there that are beating women. There's still going to be dudes out there that are misogynistic. So simply getting rid of them or shaming them, I don't think is an issue because I don't think these people care about being shamed. They're so far into their whole, that feminist repeating thing, oh, you're a misogynist. See, that's the problem is that we've gone to a point in life where people are more worried about being called something than actually committing the act. So, for example, people are more worried about being called a racist than committing racist acts. And I think that's a problem that's kind of happened with feminists. Feminists have gone so far to one side that, like, for example, man-hating, and again, I know a lot of people say, oh, it's not true. It is true. I've gone I'll give you a really good example that's happened to me. There was one time, I usually stop on at Quick Trip on my way home from lunch. For lunch, I'm sorry. And there was a day that I opened, I hold the door for everybody. It doesn't matter who the fuck it is, I just, generally, I hold the door. And this bigger woman who I was holding the door with told me go ahead, and I thought she was just being nice, telling me to go, go in front of her. No, I'm like, no, ma'am, the ladies first. And she's like, I don't need you to hold the door for me. And I'm like, oh, like what the fuck? And I'll be honest with you, she had the typical feminist look about her. I know, we all know the look. Even if you're a feminist, you know the look. With that being said, I was like, yo, I'm not being disrespectful. Like I held the door. There was a couple gentlemen that went. There was an elderly gentleman, a couple regular dudes, and then her. Like it wasn't like I was only holding the door for her because I thought she was weak or something. I held the door for everyone that just happens to be walking, at the same time through the door. So I think there's a lot of stuff like that that has become too toxic in the feminist movement. And I'll be honest with you, I support things like equal pay. I support women's right to choose. I support that if a woman's being sexually harassed in any aspect, work, home, whatever, that it should be reported. And I believe all that shit. I believe 100% in all of it. The problem is that when you guys start taking such far into your own movement takes, you start becoming a hater of people not in the movement. And it's like, I get what you're doing. At the same time, you're alienating people that you need to help you grow your movement, or that you need to better yourself. Here's the thing: do I think women are still suffering in today's age? Yeah, I think there's a lot of issues that women still have to overcome to get over. But here's the thing: in my preparation for this, I actually had a sit down with an older woman. And between that, I've had sit down with a couple of females that some you're gonna see on the podcast, some you've already seen, and they generally believe that feminists are taking it too far. And these are women. Some of these are women that have said, look, I am never gonna be the type of woman that's gonna be subservient to a man. I'm never gonna be the type of woman that I can't have my own job because I've never not worked for myself. So these are strong women. These are strong women that believe in having your own independence and having your own strength. The problem is that even they're saying you guys are taking it too goddamn far. What do you think about that, man?
I think for the most part, and I've actually dealt with the type of work, was that just for the most part, like it seems like New Age feminism isn't. New Age feminism is about bringing themselves up by bringing somebody else down.
I agree.
And there was actually something. It was actually something that happened with my girl that was. I was a witness around. It was a coworker of us, and she was like about that life, like, oh, girl boss, you go, bitch. That's like, she was about that life. She was all about that life.
Boss babe.
Yes, boss bitch. That kind of chick.
Okay.
And she's noticeably overweight. Like she's not a secret, but she's all about the body positivity thing. Okay, cool. What I have an issue with is that you have to go both ways with that, which means if it's a big girl, all right, appreciate the body. I appreciate the body. That's fine. But also, if it's also a skinny girl, you have to give that same love back. And something that happened was that my girl is also about body positivity as well, which I have no issue with. But she also wanted to go on a personal weight loss journey of her own, which again, that's fine. And my girl was getting a lot of compliments from her coworkers. And my girl was still feeling a little bit conscious of herself. I was like, yeah, but I still have a little bit to go. Yeah. And she was noticeably thinner than the chick that I mentioned earlier.
The boss babe.
And she made some comments like, yeah, I'm thinner, but I've still got ways to go. And for whatever reason, boss babe over here took like umbrage with that and started getting like all fucking snippy with her and giving her fucking attitude about that. And my thing is, yo, why did you take that as a hit? Like, if it's a body positivity thing, she wasn't calling you fat. She was like saying, okay, I made a good journey, but I still got some ways to go. It's not bashing you. It was a low key bash at herself, but at the same time, like, she was trying to affirm herself. Look, I'm better, but I've still got some ways to go. But she took it personally as a hit, and she got snippy at that. Which, if you're about positivity, you should be about that. You should be, yo, props to you.
I think a lot of the feminist movement today, especially, you guys have resolved. And again, some people say, oh, no, the fight's not over. I'm not saying the fight's over. I'm saying a lot of the big points that you guys have agreed upon, or that you agreed that were issues, have been resolved. Now, again, is there work to do? Absolutely. Just like there's more civil rights work to do, there's more rights to keep moving forward with immigrants. There's still a lot. I'm not saying stop. In fact, I think feminism should fucking exist. I think it's even now, even though a lot of the issues are resolved. But somebody said, and I 100% agree with this. Name me one right that men have that women don't have right now. Some people say, oh, well, we recently got a right taken away with Roe v. Wade. And here's the thing: I support Roe v. Wade. I support women's right to choose. With that being said, I don't think it got taken away in the sense of what you guys are making it seem to be. Do you no longer have the right to choose in a lot of states? Absolutely, which is a fucking travesty. But with that being said, men never had the right to choose. Now, some people will say, oh, well, it's not your fucking body. Okay, fair enough. Some people, and again, these are conservative people, not myself, say, well, the baby's not your body either. So the same way that you guys are making the argument that it's not men's body, so they shouldn't have it to say, conservatives will say, you guys, it's not your body, it's the baby's body, so you shouldn't have the right to say it. My point is, like, look, we're starting to come back, unfortunately, to the time when, like the 1960s, where women didn't have these rights, and that's why I think that these movements should exist. But with that being said, it seems like not including like the major issues, because again, this Roe v. Wade thing going away is a fucking 50-year fucking change, which is fucking shock everybody. When I'm talking about the other things, is like, for example, equal pay. I'll be honest with you, I've looked at a lot of different studies, and I feel like there's a lot of aspects that don't get talked about. And for example, out of my work situation, I technically have 5 bosses, technically. 4 of which are women. One of them's a man. And the 4 that are women are the ones that generally on the everyday basis are the ones that give me direction on what to do. So one of them is the only reason I consider her my boss is because she's been at the same position that I've been at for longer. But we're technically the same individual. We're at the same position. But with that being said, I guarantee you every single one of them is making more money. Now some people will say, oh, well, they're your superiors. Well, one of them's really not. One of them's the same as me. With that being said, look, there's a lot of factors that I personally feel like feminists just refuse to include in their argument. Like, generally speaking, men work longer hours. Men are 10 times more likely to die at their desk. Generally speaking, men choose careers in STEM, science, technology,
engineering and mathematics.
But generally speaking, those careers pay more. Generally, women choose careers in the social sciences. A lot, nursing, which is why, again, you see the nursing field predominantly female. Teachers predominantly female. A lot of the careers that women choose are lesser paying careers, but they're technically more fulfilling mentally and socially, I guess you can say. That is an argument that I never hear women, feminists specifically, talk about. Again, you don't see that many lady truckers. You don't see that many lady construction workers. You don't see that many lady accountants. A lot of these careers that are heavy labor inducive, you don't see women in. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you prefer a career in the social sciences, that's perfectly fucking fine. But you have to understand that is a decision that you guys choose to make, and that is part of the reason that you make less money. Now, with that being said, that's just a few of the aspects. There's a lot more that we can go into as far as the reasoning. Generally speaking, women, especially as they start to get a little bit older, choose to have children and step back a little bit in their career. Again, that's not for every woman. We have a lot of women out here. Shit, I mean, fuck. There's 2 women on that are like damn near, they're richer than fucking almost all the men, simply because they got married to the right man. There's a lot of aspects that I feel like women, or specifically feminists, don't talk about that we need to start addressing. Look, I'm all for again, if you work the same exact job with me with the same hours and you have the same set of skills and you put in the same time, you should make exactly the same that I make as a man. But with that being said, that's not often the case. I'll be honest with you. Me personally, there's been more than a few times that I generally say I work later than the rest of my peers. Most of my peers are women. It's not because I'm want to get paid more or looking to fucking make more money than like that. It's just, I'm not the type of person, when I'm not done with the work project, I don't like to leave it, half finished. So I will stay longer if I need to. There's been a couple times where I've stayed afterward 2 to 3 hours more. Again, not because anybody asked me to, but because I just did not want to leave my job half done. With that being said, there's a lot of aspects like that again, feminists don't bring into the argument, because again, it would hinder their argument. Anything to include on that, my man?
No. I mean, the only thing I can really say that's fascinating in the tone of each wave of feminism is the big difference in big difference in tone. It seemed like for the most part, first wave, it seemed like they kind of wanted to get away from the womanly labels because they wanted to set themselves apart from the men, but also wanted to get rid of their female identity. And then the second wave was all about no, we want to get back our female identity. That's why they were stereotyped as bra burners, because it was for like, oh, it's a patriarchal fashion piece. Like, we don't need that anymore. They wanted to embrace their femininity. Third and fourth wave, again, it just seems like it was for the most part just trying to bring the men down. And it was like, oh, women are just superior. Like, women are just inherently superior.
See, and that's the thing that I think I have a problem with, is that any movement, doesn't matter whether it's feminism or anything else, any movement in which it starts to focus more on not rising but bringing this group down so that I can get a little bit more rise, that's when I start to have a problem with it. It does seem at this juncture, and I'll be honest with you, like I said, in my previous video, I've discussed the issue of family cases with 7 attorneys, 3 male, 4 women, one of them classifying herself as a feminist. And they've admitted that when it comes to divorce, not only are women more difficult, but they are 80% of the divorce cases, that generally speaking, when the divorce is filed, 80% of the time it's a woman. But with that being said, it's a heavy, I don't want to say monopolized, but it's a heavy woman-controlled field. That's another thing. That brings me into another good point that I feel like is not discussed. And the reason I'm discussing it now is because not only does it have to do with the feminism, but it also has to do with an aspect that men have little to no control in, and is an ugly part that nobody ever talks about that should be talked about. I recently have I'm going to say it's my 5th case, where a father comes to us and he says, look, I have no choice but to file for divorce, one of the few. And he says, look, I recently found out via paternity test that the child that my wife was pregnant with, recently born, that I believe to be mine, is not mine. Again, if it was a one-off, I could understand, but I have multiple, and keep in mind, this is just my caseload in which I have 5 of those. We don't talk about that type of thing enough, where we talk about all the negative shit that men do when it comes to feminism. Men are keeping women down, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. You want to have that discussion? I have no problem with having that discussion. But we have to have the other discussion where women do this type of thing. I unfortunately read, this was a while back, not for this particular topic, that I believe it was 29% of men found out later in life, many years later, when child was teenage years and so on, that the child that they believed for 15, 16, 17 years was not theirs. 29% of cases. Now, nobody will say, oh, well, that's not the majority. It shouldn't even be that fucking high. Think about that concept. Think about the concept that your women are pushing, that, oh, a man needs to step up and take care of the child, and that's fair. That's fucking fair. You as men out there, if you have a fucking child, you need to step the fuck up and take care of that child. But that being said, think of the psychological damage that women are doing to the man and the child, whether the child's a daughter or a son. The psychological damage that you're doing by making these 2 individuals bond, grow for years and years and years on end about this beautiful life that they've created, and then somewhere down the road you're told, oh, well, you're not the father. Unfortunately, I've had that happen to a close friend of mine. It's ugly. And here's the thing: whenever I post some shit on Facebook empowering women, where I say, oh, women don't settle for less and blah 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 blah, fucking ridiculous amount of likes. Oh, yay, good for you. We agree. Blah blah blah. When I post what women are doing wrong, crickets. And that's the thing. I don't know one individual that's gonna, women and men, that's gonna say, hey, yeah, man, you tricking another man into believing the child is his for God knows how many years, when it's not, is appropriate, is acceptable. If I'm being 100% honest, me personally, because listen, if I get in a fight with another man and he beats my motherfucking ass, whoops my fucking ass, my shit will heal. My bruises will heal, my cuts will heal. If I get a broken, that shit will heal. It'll all heal. The trauma that you cause to a child and a human being, the psychological trauma, is irreparable. It's going to take years of fucking counseling, and hopefully at one point you can get over it. But a lot of you guys complain about psychological trauma, so let's really address it, because this is psychological trauma. And again, if feminists are going to talk about all the negative shit, the men are doing fine. I'm okay with that. I'm here for it, and I will argue on your behalf too. But we have to start addressing these issues, and that's the problem that I have with feminism. Feminism today is more about, this is what you guys are fucking doing wrong, not about, this is what we need to fucking uplift ourselves with. It's become, third and fourth place, to me, has become a nitpicking contest at the other side. And here's the thing, I'll be 100% honest with you, man. I consider myself liberal. I generally lean left on damn near everything, with a few things where I lean right when it comes to guns and when it comes to money. But with that being said, everything else, generally speaking, I lean to the left, including on women's issues. The problem is that it's just become so toxic in the feminist movement, even towards women themselves, like you said a second ago with your
with my lady and her coworker.
Yeah, where one can't celebrate weight loss because otherwise it's putting down someone else for still being big. It's become such a toxic fucking thing to where, I'll be honest with you, you guys are turning away someone that's generally been an ally of you. Like, I'm getting to the point where these type of issues that I can't discuss, otherwise I'm considered a sexist, where I can't say, hey, you as women should not make a man believe a child is his when it's not his, and then carry on the life of you, because not only did you, first of all, already cheated on the individual that you're spending your life with, but secondly, on top of that, now you're forcing them to build a bond only for them to years later find out that, hey, that bond is a fucking lie. You know what the fucked up part of it is? All five of the motherfuckers that I represent, all five of them, despite them knowing and having proof where it says 0% chance that you're the father, they still say, it doesn't matter, I still want to fucking, be there as father. They still want to fight in court as if they're father. Tell me that's not fucking noble. And tell me how you motherfuckers can fucking condone this type of shit. It's fucking ridiculous, it's fucking disgusting, and every single one of you that supports it in any way, shape, or form this type of behavior should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. With that being said, man, do you have any take on this?
No, man, you were definitely fired up about it. I think it's at least on their end, it's definitely they're devaluing men as a whole for the most part, especially in cases where it's like in childcare and what the father's role is in the relationship. And it's been a long devaluing thing where it was like, oh, men aren't shit, men as fathers don't do much.
And here's the thing, Liz, I really want any feminist watching this, I really want you to hear us. You guys are making us feel like you don't want us to help. And here's the thing, I understand, I can do it by myself, we don't need a mental. Fine. I don't give a fuck. That's perfectly okay. I don't give a fuck about that. What I'm saying is that where you would have an ally, you're creating an enemy. And that's what I have a problem with. If you're fucking pushing me so far to the goddamn, it's like, if this is the line, and this is the left, and this is the right, and I'm on the line, I'm saying, feminist, I want to help. You're saying, fuck you, you're a man, we don't need you. You're legit pushing me to the right. You're forcing me to agree with people that I wouldn't normally agree with. And that's the problem with feminism now. Feminism has become such a toxic thing now. Again, originally, needed. Second wave, needed. Fuck, maybe you could even make an argument that third wave was needed. But this new generation of feminists, everything is about you motherfuckers being men. You motherfuckers are doing all this stuff wrong. You guys are fucking trash. You guys are blah, blah, blah. And again, holding a fucking door. Holding the door. And again, it wasn't even just for her. It was for everybody else. And you're going to fucking persecute me just because I'm a fucking nice guy? Because I'm a fucking gentleman? Nah, you got me fucked up. And see, that's the problem is, this whole identity of I can do it by myself, no one's fucking saying you can't. I have an experience with an ex that told me, I don't need you as soon as I can do it by myself. That's fine, do it then. I'm not doubting you. I don't doubt that you can fucking do it. But trying to persecute me for how you feel about a situation as a feminist, again, me holding the door, I'm not saying you're weak by holding the door. I'm sure that large woman could hold the fucking door perfectly fine by herself. I was just being polite in the same way that I was polite to the elderly gentleman and a couple other gentlemen that went before her. I am being the same level of polite. Isn't that what you wanted? A fucking quality? If I treat them a certain way, you want me to treat you the same way? But no, instead I'm going to be persecuted. And here's the thing. It's that fucking mentality, the boss babe mentality, that I can do it myself mentality, that I don't need no man mentality. Here's the thing. I don't give a fuck what you say to anybody. Go see a fucking therapist. Ask them. If I have a child, whether it's a daughter or a son, both the mother and the father are needed. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Look at if you see the incarceration rates of children that don't have father figures in their life, it is higher than the motherfuckers that have both parents in the home. It just is. It's not my opinion. It's not, something I divinely came up with. It's just facts. And you know why that is? Generally speaking, fathers will instill a certain level of responsibility, a certain level of consequence, a certain level of this is how things must be, child, in life. And I'm not. I'll give you a really down to home answer example. When my mother and father divorced when I was 13, and we all know 13 is an intense time for a child. It was actually a little bit before I was 13. It was right around 12, leading into 13. I'll be honest with you, I went fucking apeshit when I fucking turned 13. I went from a perfect fucking straight A student and that wouldn't fucking raise his voice to nobody to fucking going out and trying to fuck everything on the fucking planet, trying to fucking be at every motherfucking party, trying to do everything that I shouldn't fucking be doing constantly. And unfortunately, the only one that was in the home was my mother, because again, my mother chose to pursue a divorce, which here's the thing, I don't even blame her, but she chose to pursue divorce. And my father was only really around on the weekends, mostly because my mom didn't really want him around all that much. And here's the thing, I went apeshit. I lost track of myself. I acted a fool. I got in a lot of situations that I should have gone in. And the reason I'm giving you guys my personal example is I don't want you guys to think that I'm persecuting any single mothers out there. I sometimes understand. As much as you may want both parents, it's just not going to happen. I get that. But the feminist movement, in my mind, the way that it looks like to me, is basically saying the father is not necessary. And here's the thing. Imagine, reverse it for a second, ladies. Imagine I said women aren't needed. Everybody on the fucking planet would call me a misogynist. They'd fucking say I'm a piece of shit human being. So the reverse being said, we men are just supposed to take it. We men are just supposed to accept it. Okay, we're told we're not needed now. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm not gonna fucking stand for it. I don't give a fuck how many of you motherfuckers try to fucking put me down for it. I don't give a shit. I am who I fucking am, and I believe that, again, both the mother, notice I'm putting the mother first, the mother is absolutely needed, and the father is needed. The feminist movement is just, they're trying to eliminate this whole aspect. And here's the thing. When I see interviews of true feminists, and when I say true feminists, I mean the feminists that started back in like the 60s and stuff. When I see some of their interviews, I agree with what they're saying. I agree with their values. I agree with what they said. Look, when we started, this was the goal, so on and so forth. And they generally say we still have a lot of work to do. I agree with it. I agree with it. Again, I think feminists should exist. I think the feminist movement is a valid movement, because you don't ever want to have a scenario where they disband and say, hey, our work is done, go back, and then all of a sudden they start losing the rights. Kind of like, unfortunately, like has happened recently. But with that being said, the extreme. Here's the thing. If you feminists that are, because there's level-headed feminists. You level-headed feminists, what I need you guys to start doing is calling out the extreme feminists. We don't want transsexuals because they're not real women feminists. The fuck you because you're a man feminist. I've seen feminists talk about how if their son, if they decide to have a son with their partner, meaning their lesbian partner, and it has a dick, they're gonna cut it off. How fucking insane is that? That's fucking ridiculous. Because of something that you can't control, you're gonna mutilate a fucking child? Fucking insanity. Anything you want to add to that, my man?
Likewise, to that point, we actually have been doing that on our side, with especially with Andrew Tate. We acknowledge Andrew Tate is a toxic person. He actually is. Well, he's a misogynistic. We agree. He actually is that misogynist person.
Exactly.
We are personally, what's the word? Exiling him. We're personally exiling him. No, fuck what he says. Don't listen to him.
Yeah.
He does not represent us. On that notion, you also have the same. You have to also do the same for your side and call out shit like that.
And that's the problem. Look, if you go on YouTube and you look at any of the at least somewhat big channels, H3, Albert and Preach, fucking Philly DeFranco, all the big channels, they're all fucking persecuted. They're all men, and they're saying, yeah, this guy is dog shit. We agree, this guy is dog shit. Here's the thing. The problem with the extremes, both in feminists and I guess meninists, is that they take a kernel of truth. For example, if Andrew Tate says, men's incarceration rates are higher. That's factually true. That's factually true. The problem is that because he's true and correct in column A, he tries to spread that truth to falsehoods in column B, C, D, E, and that's where I disagree. If he says women over the last 30 years have generally been getting higher incomes and so on and so forth, that's true. That's a factual truth. Then he starts spreading the bullshit into the misogyny part. That's where I disagree with it. So here's the problem with the feminist movement and at least the feminists of today and the individuals like Andrew Tate. They have a kernel of truth in their argument, and the problem is you can't deny that truth because that truth is factual. But then we start getting into the, okay, but because I'm right in column A, I must be right in column H, when column H may have nothing to fucking do with column A. And that's the problem is, we, the sober individuals, the fucking clear-minded individuals, the fucking level-headed individuals, we can ostracize motherfuckers like Andrew Tate. We can say, they're dog shit, don't fucking listen to them, they're fucking wrong. The problem is that I don't see a lot of women doing the same thing. I see some, very few, but generally speaking, if the group is already not a misogynist group, they'll ostracize those people. Unless they're also misogynist, they won't ostracize. If they are misogynist, they won't ostracize. If they're not, they'll ostracize. And we all agree. Here's the problem though, again. Even ostracization doesn't fix the whole thing, because yeah, Andrew Tate may be gone, fine, but misogyny's still out there. And the thing is, it always will be out there. There's nothing wrong with shaming them motherfuckers, but thinking, okay, we've eliminated Andrew Tate, problem solved. That's not the fucking case.
I was actually going to add one more point actually about that, about...
Go ahead, man, go ahead. We're just ranting a little bit here, because I'll be honest with you, this is something that I personally have a lot of... Look, seeing this happen to men and not have it be an issue that's discussed, where men are, let's call it what it is, being fucking cucked by the motherfucking woman. They're raising children, stepping up to a child that you know was created in your pain, but saying, I am enough of a fucking man to raise a child, despite the fact knowing that this child was conceived through my pain. That is a fucking honorable fucking thing to do. That is the definition of a man, because you don't need to. You have no legal obligation to step up. I can tell you, I deal with these cases all the time. You have no legal obligation to step up to a child that is not yours. But with that being said, in all my cases, every single one of them has said, I still want the court to look at me as father. I want my name on the birth certificate. I want all the legal rights of a father. That's fucking honorable as fuck. And here's the thing, I'll be 100% honest. I've not had one fucking case where the woman has said, hey, those children that are dads over there, I want to be in their lives. I want to be looked at as mother. Or I want to be, I want my it's called third-party parental rights. I want third-party rights. So, excuse me if I'm a little heated about it, but again, we're calling out the bullshit of what the feminist movement is. That includes calling out the bullshit that women pull. Go ahead, my man.
So, anyways, there was a story, and I was researching on this about it was an incident of actor Aziz Ansari, in which he actually had a date with a photographer, and I guess there might have been a miscommunication on both of their end, because I don't think anything really happened physically on their date, but I guess there were some things that Aziz Ansari said that the photographer felt a little bit coerced by, and she basically called him out and saying, oh, well, he was trying to coerce me this entire time. And she was basically saying that as part of like the Me Too movement. And Aziz Ansari was like, I wasn't trying to intend that with you, but if you feel that way, I'm sorry. And was trying to apologize. And then some other people were I think it was a female reporter that was actually questioning the photographer, and I was like, what do you mean he was coercing you? It just sounds like he was trying to be friendly or flirtatious. It was a date. That's what it was entailing. And a whole bunch of criticism was going around that reporter for questioning her feeling of being coerced, and was saying you shouldn't ask questions on this because it's going to demean the Me Too movement, which I think is fucking wild.
See, that's the problem, man. Is that a lot of these movements are trying to give themselves. It's funny, they did a few episodes about this on South Park, where you just cannot criticize the movement whatsoever. It doesn't matter what it is. Otherwise, if you criticize it, you're clearly against it, and that's a problem. That's why, here's the thing, let's be honest, a lot of people are going to get bothered about us criticizing feminists. I don't give a fuck. The thing is, the feminist movement does some good things. Yes, abso-fucking-lutely. They also do a lot of dog shit, especially New Age feminism. You bring up a good point, and it leads into a whole bunch of other points that I have a problem with. So, for example, a lot of women say that in the moment they feel pressured, using the example of Aziz Ansari, that they feel pressured to do something that they wouldn't do. Here's the thing, I get it. It's a terrible thing to feel the pressure of you having to do something sexual with someone that you don't want to do something sexual with. I get it, but here's the thing, especially in the case of Aziz Ansari, he's a little guy. I highly, highly doubt that this motherfucker can stand a fight against any woman. You saying, I'll give you guys a really good example. I have a case right now where the woman took advantage of the men. And when I say took advantage of, she was in her, I'm going to change the facts slightly because I'm not going to be talking directly about my case. She was in her early 30s. He was a teenage boy. And when I say teenage boy, I don't mean legal age 18 teenage boy. I mean far below the minimum age of consent. With that being said, we have texts, again because our client provided them, in which he shows that she is saying, I can't wait to see you, blah, blah, blah. Shortly thereafter, she filed a order of protection saying, oh, I'm so scared of him, I'm so afraid, he's gonna kill me, and blah, blah, blah. When the day before, you were sending him texts, I can't wait to see you, and then there was a lot of talk about sex. I can't wait to be in your arms, blah, 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 blah. So that's the problem, is that you can't claim one thing 1 second and then a complete different one the other. If you feel, all women, if you feel pressured, leave. Say no, don't go. Anything in the, even now, even something as simple as this, I know it's gonna fucking be like, oh, that's a dodgy take. I don't give a fuck. Like me personally, I've had women pressure me to do certain things. I said no. Could that woman have pulled a knife on me? Absolutely. Could that woman pull a gun on me? Absolutely. I didn't want to do it. We need to stop doing this whole thing, and I include men in this. We need to stop doing this whole fucking I'm a victim thing. I get it. Shit happens, and in certain cases, you cannot avoid being a victim. Understood. Problem is that, especially when it comes to these types of issues, you have so much power, especially nowadays, you have so much power to persecute the fuck out of it. With social media, man, you can shame somebody into non-existence. It's fucking wild. There's little people, there's little kids out here that are killing themselves for the sole reason of being bullied. You can, if an individual is a fucking, Harvey Weinstein, a fucking rapist, a fucking sexual predator like that, shame him into non-existence. This motherfucker is losing everything because of what he did, and he should. So this whole, well, what I don't like is like, look, it becomes one of those things where, what if you, even if you weren't drunk, even if you weren't high, even if you weren't anything, you wanted to do it last night, but today you're like, oh man, like I kind of regret it. Which I'll be honest with you, I've had that regret when I've slept with certain women. But I'm not gonna say they're fucking rapists. I made the decision to sleep with these women. Did I regret it afterwards? Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't mean that they're fucking rapists. And that's the fucking problem, is we're trying to absolve ourselves of personal responsibility with the feminist movement, with the fucking meninist movement. Like there's so many, with the fucking MGTOW, like all these motherfuckers are trying to absolve themselves of responsibility. And we can't keep fucking doing that. We can't keep fucking doing that. Words have to mean something. If you say, if in the middle of or right before we were about to have sex, you say yes, and during sex you're making all the noises that show you're enjoying yourself, and afterwards you're like, that was great, and then next afternoon you're like, fuck man, I shouldn't have slept with that dude. No, you were not raped. We need to stop these little weird fucking scenarios where we're trying to absolve ourselves of responsibility of what we did. Again, I slept with women that I was later on like, fuck man, I shouldn't have slept with that girl. That doesn't mean that they raped me. We're getting too fucking ridiculous with these fucking arguments. Words have to mean something. That being said, my man, I think that's a good wrapping up point. What do you think? Alright, thank you for tuning in. Again, we're gonna keep discussing these motherfucking issues because they're fucking important. As you guys can see, I'm very passionate about a lot of things that I see. The good thing about this is that I've done criminal law, I've done family law, I've done personal injury, so I have a lot of what I would consider myself to be an expert because I've been doing it for 10 plus fucking years. So I can bring in a lot of these statistics in that I factually know, that I've experienced, that I see, that I can speak on with full depth of knowledge. And again, I'm passionate about them. We're going to keep discussing them. With that being said, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all that shit. We're going to be opening up some new pages. We already have some new equipment. We're missing one component to put it all together, so bear with us. Everything's going to keep getting better from here on out. With that being said, again, share the video, like, subscribe, comment, all that beautiful stuff.
And until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you on the next one, alright?